Surely. So we're getting started with our prompting class. We're going to be using Claude and Replit today. Freddie, you should have that link in the chat now, hopefully.
Got it.
Sweet. So we're going to go through this. I kind of threw the guide together. And what we're basically going to do, and the question that Jen had yesterday was, we wanted to learn more about prompting AI. And I think this goes back to one of the initial comments we made at one of our first AI trainings a while ago. And that was along the thesis or along the lines of garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. So prompting is actually one of the most important skills that you can learn in AI, both in terms of like what works, what doesn't work, what you need to include in order to get the information you want. And so we're going to focus on that today. The goal is I'm going to build a landing page in Replit, and I'm going to use Claude to help with some of the copy and some of the, putting together some of those things. And so by the end of this class, you should have a pretty good guide on how to create your own landing pages if you want to do it. So you'll have a few options. You can either go into GoHighLevel and create those landing pages yourself, or you would be able to use Replit and basically create one of those landing pages on your own, which is pretty cool. So today we're just going to go through that. And I think that's pretty much it. That's all I got. So this will probably take about an hour, hour and a half. So we'll just kind of go through it. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and we'll kind of go from there. Does that work?
Yep.
Sweet. All right, cool. So I actually asked AI to help me with this class, of course, because why would we not do that? And so this, I'm sharing my screen right now. This is just the guide that I shared in the link. And basically what we're going to be doing is just kind of going step by step through here. Just to clarify, so Claude, a lot of our training so far has been on ChatGPT, right? So ChatGPT is the LLM for OpenAI, the company. Claude is another LLM that's sponsored by a company called Anthropic, a competitor of OpenAI. Same with xAI, which has created Grok, right? Musk's company. And so it's really interesting because these LLMs and these AI models are definitely evolving at, I would say, different paces, if you will. And it does seem like there are some design and training things that have been baked into these models. So the more they kind of evolve, you are starting to see some differences, in my opinion, between, like a ChatGPT model, Claude, xAI, Grok, whatever. And so part of AI is also just getting comfortable with the LLM or the model that you're most comfortable using, right? So like if you give the same prompt to two different AIs, you might get similar and also different responses. You're not going to get the exact same response, right? And so play around with these models. I was we were like full on ChatGPT up until about 2 or 3 months ago. And now I've kind of gone to Claude almost extensively. So for my own personal work, as well as, software development, guides, classes, recipes, whatever, I'm not using Claude, which I think is pretty interesting.
Jared, how come you switched? And I noticed you haven't mentioned DeepSeek at all. Not that I prefer it. I just heard a lot about it. Like it's just because it's Chinese, or?
Yeah, I try not to use anything Chinese just for data security, just for security purposes. And then I think why to make the switch? It's a good question, man. I think it started when ChatGPT released 5.0. So, ChatGPT 4.0 was pretty good at the time. I would say it was probably one of the better models out there. Since they released 5, personally, I don't think the responses have gotten any better. In fact, I think they've gotten worse, in my opinion. And I don't necessarily think the new release of 5.1 or 5.2 or whatever they're on has gotten that much better, and this is being recorded, so I want to be very careful about what I say about the owners of these companies. I also think at some level, you need to look at like who these founders are and what these companies believe. You know, like Sam Altman is not the biggest fan of humans. Like he frankly thinks that like AI can replace humans. And so I think they're building, it seems to me like ChatGPT is much more like they're kind of training it to be much more personable. Like they almost want it acting and talking like a human, or like making you think that it is like a human. And like, you know, so like they'll have names and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And to me, it's more of like this human replacement thing versus Claude, at least in my interaction so far over the last few months. One, I think Claude Code, which is a separate subscription to just general Claude, I think Claude Code is some of the best coding engine, like coding support I've worked with in the last 7 months to a year. So in terms
Better than
of different things,
okay.
I said they're good at different things, and we could jump into that. But yeah, I think Claude Code is spectacular. So that's kind of what first turned me onto it. Like just the ability to, there's certain things you can do in Claude Code that you can't do in ChatGPT right now. And as a result, like that's just better suited for what I'm doing. So if I'm already in Claude Code, it's really easy for me to open up a Claude chat that's not Claude Code and then just use Claude, you know? In interacting with my Claude AI though, it does seem like they're training, Anthropic is training Claude to be a tool and not be a human replacement. So when you interact with Claude, it like the responses aren't as like flowery and as like, oh wow, you're so great. You know, it's almost like a more encyclopedia-ish kind of response, you know, instead of like this.
It reminds me of the movie iRobot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like an insincere, like, you know, kind of thing.
It's like it's mocking you almost.
A little bit. Oh, that's a great idea. You know,
you don't like people.
Liking people has nothing to do with it. It seriously, when it responds to you, it almost has its own cynicism to it. It's really weird the way they programmed it to respond, almost as if it's giving you really cynical, shitty advice. It's better in some of the older, because like I use 4.1 a lot and like go back and use some of the older platforms on ChatGPT, and when you use those, it seems to be less that way. But when you get into 5.0 or 5.1, and on top of it, simple tasks that it used to be able to do and create, it now has no clue. And we're talking things like, you know, help me with this Excel spreadsheet, help me build a prompt. And it literally stutters over itself or tells you, sorry, I can't do that. Or it's gotten weird. So if you do use it, use some of the older versions. You can do that in the top and go backwards. And it seems to be better if you're using like 4.1.
Yeah, I agree. Like all
Are you
the stuff.
using Claude, Jennifer?
I've used Claude. I don't, because of what I use AI for, I'm on my other side of business. I don't use Claude because it just doesn't have the same abilities. But I do like Claude. I have used it. I do like, it seems like a cleaner interface, and less confusing to find things like past files or archived messages or archived conversations. It just seems like a much cleaner platform.
So yeah, I mean, part of this too, is like play around, like do your own thing, you know. And so yeah, a lot of these models have free versions. So like, you know, so you can try them out free, and then, you know, before they'll just, when you pay, you just get higher limits and stuff like that. So, you know, I think this technology is still so new, you know, like in the grand scheme of things, like this has really only been out for like 2.5 years, right? 2023 was probably when you first were able to like talk to ChatGPT. So, I mean, it's come a really long way in 2.5 years. I'm not saying it hasn't. And also, like, there's still a long way to go before it can kind of start doing some of the other stuff that people really think it can do. So
I would agree with Jared, though. Do your research on the platform and the people running that platform, because not all of them are good people. Some of them are literally using AI. It's for really crappy things. So you really need to do your research. Don't just use a platform because it's available.
Yeah.
Especially if you plan on doing things like based off what you know about me, and having AI actually look at you like that, make sure where you're putting your information is a good place.
Right.
Yeah. So let's jump into it, if that's okay. We'll at least introduce you guys to Claude, show you what I've been using it for lately, and we'll use it to build a very simple landing page in Replit, so that way we can also make this kind of like a productive tutorial. If you want to follow along in Replit, you might have to pay for it. It might cost you a few bucks to do some of this stuff, but I think if you put down a credit card and just spend $25, like that should be plenty. You can set limits on it so it doesn't charge you more than that. But if you are going to be following along the entire way and not just doing the Claude exercises, you might need to throw down a credit card in Replit. I don't know what they do for free or not anymore. So yeah, as we kind of get to that stuff, let me know, and then we'll kind of work through there. So, all right, cool. So the first thing that we're going to cover today is really about kind of discovery and how to get the right copy or the right results out of your AI. Right. So, what Claude, this guide was kind of put together by Claude. And so, really before touching it, any code or doing anything with this, if you're trying to prompt it, the main thing is that you want to give it context, not just ask it to do stuff. Right. So think about your AI as, and we've said this before, it's your savant 5-year-old. Right. It could tell you anything about everything. It knows everything. It has the entire encyclopedia. It has the entire history of the world. It's trained itself on billions and billions of websites. It can tell you anything. It doesn't know any context for any of it. And I think that's the problem with AI. If you can't, just because it might know a little bit about you and it has some memories of what you've asked it, maybe if you set it up that way or you've trained it on your data, every individual request or chat that you have is going to be kind of separate from any other chat or request that you've had. So just because it might know you're a real estate agent from your previous chats, it's not going to know what this time around you're going to be using it for. And so you want to avoid, one of the most important things is just avoiding these commands off the bat. Because if your end goal is to say let's say build a landing page, right? You don't want to start it with build a landing page, because it'll just go and build you a landing page. God knows what you're going to get if you just said, build me a landing page, right? And so what the main thing to keep in mind here is that you want to lead with context, right? So if you look at the example in the guide, what you really want to say is give it some background, right? So in this case, it's I run a mobile dog grooming service in Austin, Texas, targeting busy professionals who don't have time to take their pets to a groomer, right? So what we're going to do on the real estate side would be something like, I run a real estate brokerage based out of Denver, Colorado, targeting agents who are looking to double their production while saving time, right? And something like that. And so you would start it with, what are you trying to do? What's your mission? Who are you? So that way, when you ask it to do stuff in the future, it has context. You've given it context, right? If you just told someone to, if you told your savant 5-year-old, go mow the lawn. Maybe they know how to do it, but what? Which lawn? The back lawn, the front lawn, my neighbor's lawn? How do you want me to mow the lawn? What do you want me to use for it? It would just kind of pick it up and go. Maybe you don't want to give it full freedom to cut the neighbor's grass. You want to give it more direction, right? And so giving context is obviously by far the most important thing that you want to do whenever you're working with AI. Another way to approach this too is that, and this is actually one of the best prompts. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Whenever you're doing anything with AI, especially if you're trying to get output from it related to your business that you can actually use, one of the best prompts is asking it a question or telling it to ask you questions that it needs answers to, right? So if you say, hey, I am building I run a real estate brokerage in Denver, Colorado, targeting real estate agents who want to double their production while saving 20 to 30 hours a month on their marketing time. I want to write a landing page that can help set appointments for agents who might be curious and learning more via online ads. Before we get started, what questions do you need to know about my business or about my landing page or about my campaign? Ask me everything you would want to know before we get started so I can give you the answers and the response and the context, right? That's a great thing. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing a landing page or you're doing anything. If you're asking it to give you stuff, it will know what context it might need, and then you can answer it, right? It's kind of like your unknown unknowns. Like, you don't know what you don't know. It will know what it needs to know if you just ask it, right? The second
That's a great.
thing,
Here's another course I saw, and then when you're, I mean, the whole approach is to have your clone, right? So I guess that's where it's personable and whatever, but also like, hey, what about this haven't I thought about? You know, that you want to ask me about, right? And then it'll spit out stuff. So that's really cool. Like, what's my blind spot in here? That's pretty cool.
Totally. And by the way, that works with anything, right? So if you gave it like your business plans, or you gave it your education plans, or you gave it like, you know, let's say you want to design a road trip, right? What am I forgetting? What else would be cool? You know, and so the reason why that works is because, you know, if you at a high level, and I'm not gonna be able to describe all this to you, but like at a high level, an LLM is just like, it's a prediction model, right? Based on the inputs that you've given it, all it's doing is predicting the next best response, or the next most likely word that would satisfy the input that you gave it, right?
It's just a predictive algorithm.
I'm sorry?
It's just a predictive algorithm.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a predictive algorithm. And so if you're thinking about what, you know, if we're just trying to get it to predict a correct answer, right? The more information it has on the background, right, the better the prediction is going to be. So that's the context part, right? But the second thing is that imagine the infinite connections that this can all make through its training on different data, different whatever. Yeah, this has had billions and billions and billions of conversations already, you know. So it will know, kind of like Instagram, right? If you ever go to like that explore page, you know, if you swipe off your feed and go to your explore page and it shows you like all the suggested reels and like all that kind of stuff, it's because like all those things that it's suggesting, Instagram knows, the algorithm knows that based on what you've interacted with, like videos that you've watched or videos that you've whatever, like other people that have liked those videos that you've liked also like these other videos. And so it's the algorithm's showing you those things, because the algorithm knows the connection that this video likely has based on your preferences against other people's, right? And so AI is very similar. If it knows, like, this isn't the first time that an AI is going to build a landing page. And so if we give it like, hey, what else do you need to know? It's built thousands and millions of landing pages before. And so it can say, hey, you haven't told me anything about this, and this is what other people who build landing pages want to know. So I'm going to ask you the questions that I don't know so I can get clear on what's going on. Okay. The second thing, or third thing rather, is we want to make sure that we separate in chunks. And I think this is super, super, super important, right? In that if you tell AI to go from 0 to 60 and just take, you know, get me on the highway. I want to go from nothing to hero in one shot, you're not going to be happy. You're just absolutely not going to be happy. The odds of you being happy go down dramatically, right? That being said, on a thing like a landing page, right? It's, you know, if you think about it, you have sections. You've got like a hero section, right, at the top of the page, right? And then you might have like a sub-hero section, or and you're trying to split up into sections. Go with the first one first. Once you're satisfied with the top of that page, or the first paragraph, or the first chapter, or whatever it is you're having it do, then you can say, great. Based on this first thing being great, now I want to create this second thing, also with all the context I've given you, and now you know a final product that would be good. Now predict the second paragraph, right? And so if you just go stepwise and piecewise, like down your page, down your essay, down your paragraph, like whatever it is, right? It will facilitate a much more efficient process, because you won't have to go back. Oh, that wasn't right, start over again. Oh, that wasn't right, start over again, right? You're just kind of helping it along the way. And so it has more and more data and more context to make sure the next thing is going to be a good result. Okay? So if you scroll down on the page, we've got a little template copy here. So I'm just going to copy this. Now I'm cheating a little bit because Claude knows me right now, right? So like there are some memories because I've used Claude. And so we're still going to go through this exercise together and just kind of see what's going on, right? So I've taken this prompt right here, right? And this is the prompt that we're using today, but keep in mind, like you could say whatever, like I'm creating a simple postcard, or I'm writing an essay, or I'm writing a market report, or I'm doing a blah, 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 blah. And I need your help, right? And you just need to kind of give it these questions, like why do you need it? What's going on? Who are you? And so let's just answer these questions really quick. You guys can see my screen, right? Are you able to see what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
I'm just going to zoom in a little bit for you. Okay. So about my business, what do I do? Who do I serve? We run a real estate brokerage in Denver, Colorado. Supports agents by freeing up So make sure I get the right thing. So who are we? Got it. Okay, what makes us different? Sweet, right? So, going ahead. No, stop, Claude. No, we were not.
It hurt you?
What?
Do you have it on volume mode? Or just
No, I don't like when my AI talks to me. Is that what you're asking? I think it's trippy when it talks.
Wait, what happened? You pressed enter?
I didn't mean to. I was trying to hit like shift return and it didn't work. So I'm just gonna do this one more time. So we run a real estate brokerage based out of Denver, Colorado that supports agents to grow their businesses by saving them 20 to 30. Also, give the client access mortgages with up to 10% lower. I can't type today. Okay. All right. So it's a little bit about who we are, traditional lending solutions, whatever. So what's the goal of this page? The goal of this page is to get downloads and have agents fill out their information so that we can call them and schedule the first in a series of recruiting appointments. We are going to be selling a package that includes an agent success playbook that gives a 30, 60, 90 in ebook form, 10 pages on how to double their business with systems, free access to beta test our software platform with free social media graphics, ChatGPT integration, and virtual assistant marketing, a coupon for a free CE class that we offer, and also a promotion to switch brokerages and not pay desk fees for 2 weeks. Cool. So we're giving as much information as possible, right? Now, you might not have this level of detail as you're going through it. Like Cass and I have been talking about this now for a week or two. So like we're pretty much ready to go, which is why I wanted to kind of show you what's going on. And that's okay, right? So if you don't know everything you're trying to do, just start small, right? It's really easy to kind of iterate, take what you had, feed it back in, do it all over again. You can always copy, paste, and hit enter again, right? So this is always going to be iterative. It's very unlikely the first thing you get is going to be perfect. And so we're just trying to give it as much information as possible. So I'd say we're targeting up to 3 archetypes: the agent, the efficiency agent, someone who wants to make more with less time, the culture agent, someone who wants better communication with their brokerage, more culture and collaboration with other agents, and values earning equity in our partnership to own and lastly, the bespoke agent just wants to be left alone and only wants to pay for what they use and nothing. These people are very likely at the beginning of their brokerage searches, and so we want to encourage them to enter the top of our funnel by downloading this offer package. Cool. Let's see. We're going for a professional tone, but also something that speaks of that sounds like disruption, and showing them that the current system isn't going to change for the better. We want to be a little irreverent. Is that not the right word? Reverent. But not disrespectful. And then we have that prompt at the end that says, before we start writing, right? Ask me any clarifying questions that help you create more effective copy, right? And so, yeah, I think one thing to also remember through this process is like we are actually going to use 2 different AI systems here, right? So if you wanted to, Claude would probably output a landing page for you, right? It could do the entire thing, copy to copy to copy, but then what you would have to do is you would have to take that copy, put into something else like a GoHighLevel or whatever, or Replit or something, and have it do the entire thing, right? So I don't like to design GoHighLevel landing pages. Not my favorite thing, especially when I can go into Replit and have full control over it. So, and it looks a lot better in my opinion. So that's part of the reason why, Freddie, kind of knowing different AIs and like what different agents do and what different models can do, like leverage the models for what they're good at, And so if Claude is good at creating copy and understanding my business, great. We're going to use Claude to help us tee up Replit. And then Replit's really good at designing a user interface. That is not something that Claude or Claude Code do very well, right? And so that's part of the reason why we're leveraging both of these things, and then we'll end up getting a much better product than if we just use one AI tool. We have a whole toolkit here, which is pretty cool. So great project. A few clarifying questions about the offer package. What are you calling this bundle? So whenever, just another little tip, whenever you respond to the AI, it can pick it all up. But if it gives you questions like this, I always like to number it back. Remember your homework assignments when it said like, answer these 3 questions, and you used to like write A, B, and C yourself. I don't know if anyone does that anymore. Maybe, I know we all do. We're in the same cohort, but maybe the younger people don't do that anymore. You had to do that. Like you told your teacher, this is section A, this is section B, section C. I do that with AI too, so it doesn't get confused. So number 1, what are we calling this bundle? We don't have a name. Would love a few suggestions based on the context that you have. We'd be willing to maybe test a couple. Great. 2. We've already created. And here is a copy. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it really quick. I'm just going to download a copy of this thing, and then we can upload it. Oh, no. Oh. Okay. So I just said copy and pasted. All right, about differentiators. 3. The 10% lower monthly payments for clients. Can you give me a quick sense of how that works? We have a unique horizontally integrated structure that lowers overhead uh, 5. Are these agents primarily newer, mid-career, experienced producers, or a mix? We're likely to get a mix, and our ICP is someone who is mid-career. Experienced enough to know what they're doing, know what they're doing, that there might be something better out there, and people who are less patient with taking more time to solve problems they know their existing brokerage can't fix. Oh, sorry guys, that's kind of boring. This is kind of what you have to do. And you can really see like how much detail I'm giving it, right? Like I'm really trying to expand on this stuff. It's not just like, oh, mid career, right? If you have a vision of and this goes back to that kind of ICP training that we used to do, right? So we did that, I think, a few months ago. Check that out. But like, if you have a better idea of your ICP, give that information to your AI because like you're going to be able to do a lot more with it. 6, most likely EXP, PW, Compass, small independents who don't provide any support. Okay, 7. Yes, the pain point is that people want to grow and they don't have tools or resources to help them get there. Okay, 8. This will be a standalone landing page that is built on our Replit app, but does not have headers or footers to link to the main site. Let's see. Primary CTA. Forgot to label my answer. Primary CTA will be a form fill to input their info and then get access to the package both on a secondary page and in their emails. 10. Nope. Let's see what you got. Still going. I promise. We'll get there eventually. This is going to be awesome.
Crush it like Corey.
Crush it like Corey. Let's go. So I just fed it 10 pages of an ebook. All this information, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we still have more that we need to go, right? So this is why you want to ask it, like, what else do you need to know? Because like, this is a lot. If we imagine if we had just run with this, right? We would have gotten a much better response than if we just said, go create a landing page for recruiting agents, right? Like this would have created a landing page and some copy to do what we wanted it to do, but we had no information about who we are, what we're trying to do, or our ICP or anything. And like, that's really important when you're creating advertising, that your copy resonates with your audience, right? All right. On the offer bundle naming. Let's not highlight it too much and also mention somewhere that equity programs are available for all agents. 2, it's CE class of their choosing. Any of our topic classes or the annual. What does the ACU stand for? Annual. What, Jen? You're on mute.
Annual commission update.
Commission
Thank you.
update.
Thank you. Yes, we can say we save them 23 hours a month. So this is where like memories feed in, right? So like obviously, as you can tell, I've been talking a lot about Sterling and our marketing platform. So it's asking if it's going on Sterling or something else. I'm telling it's going to be on our main website. No need to preemptively handle objections. Let's see what you've got for some initial names of the download package. And then also let's just start with the hero section at the top to make sure we really dial that in before we go on to other sections.
So Jared,
wow.
if you do some like misspellings, it'll just go through it, like, and then if it doesn't understand something, it'll ask for clarification, right?
No.
Okay.
If you misspell it too bad, or you like use a word or the word changes the context, it will just go
Right.
down the wrong direction, right? So like
Okay.
if you misspell a word in a 3-prompt response or a 3-word response versus a 30-word response, that's a very big difference, right? So if you give it 30 words and you misspell one, it should have enough context to know that there was a misspelling, right?
Right.
So like I've had examples where like literally half of my words were misspelled, but was able to understand what I was saying just because of the context of the other words. So I was just typing so fast, it's 2 a.m, whatever. I just get this out kind of thing. I've also had responses where like I've had a sentence and I say like on instead of at because I'm like dictating or something, and I send that and it just like totally goes in the wrong thing. So like, I think that's one of the arts, not sciences. Here I'm just blowing through it because these are minor typos. It already has plenty of context, so like I'm not worried about any of these typos, but like, I do think that's something to be mindful of. So if you get a bad response, do check your typos, do check your words, because sometimes one word here or there, it can shift it, one way or another kind of thing.
But it won't go like, did you mean this? It just goes, okay, yeah, I'm going to assume he meant this. Right?
Sometimes it will, but it won't typically ask you like, do you mean this before I reply? It will like, hey, did you mean this? And then give you the full response. So like, I would just be careful, watch the responses, track what's going on. That's why you want to do it in chunks. So that way you can be like, oh, no, that's not what I meant. Like, oh, I meant to say this. And then, oh, let's fix it. Instead of you like sending it all the way, like that's why part of like doing this in iterative checks is really helpful.
Right.
So you can kind of do that, right?
It doesn't have cognitive thought, so it doesn't know to ask you before it gives you a response.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. So, all right, guys, I'm just curious, which of these 6 do we like the best?
I like the first one.
Like the first one, Jen?
I like the 5th one.
Okay.
Let's go with Jen's.
Let's go with okay. Our top 2 are 1 and 5. Okay, so the point that's really great because we want to highlight the value stack. Okay, I'm just going to go back to our prompt here. So we're kind of through this process, right? Now we're going to be building the page. So let's we're just going to do this real quick. Whoop. Can you maybe expand on some
So this one still kisses your ass a little bit, right? Great choices.
This one does, I mean, they all kiss your ass. This one, though, is less like over the top, in my opinion, than ChatGPT. Frankly, there was an entire South Park episode on this a couple months ago. If you guys watch South Park, and I like, I actually had to like sit back and think about it, given how much I talk to AI. I'm like, oh shit, I think they were talking to me in that thing. So if you ever are like concerned about that, go rewatch that South Park episode, and it totally frames this in a different way.
I want to do a salad with French fries. Interesting choice of items. Let's see how we can build a business plan around it.
This is how we can make that work. Both things will do really well with acid and vinegar. So I think we should do a vinegar-based dressing. Yeah, 100%. So it was a little crazy. I'm like, oh wow, I guess everyone else's AI tells them they're so smart too. I thought it was just me. That kind of opened my eyes a little bit. All right, so what do we like better? Option A, bullet points. Like option B, paragraph. I think I like option C, the hybrid. Right. Let's start with agent accelerator kit and do option C, hybrid. Please output the full hero section of this landing page with that Updated info. Boom. All right. So while this is going, we're going to go back to Replit. Okay. So now part 2 is actually putting this into, putting this into practice, right? So now we have a great copy. If you wanted to stop there, you totally could, right? Like you could go on to GoHighLevel. You could create a landing page. They have sites on GoHigh. It's free. You can do it. You can publish your sites. You can link your domains. You can do all the stuff on GoHigh. GoHigh was built for this. Okay. The one difference though between GoHigh and a program that you build is you'll have full control over a program that you build, where you are still limited to some extent by the construction that GoHigh will allow you, right? And so I've spent way too many hours this summer building code, and so we actually have our own infrastructure now to build our own websites and landing pages and all that kind of stuff through our own Replit stuff, which is why I'm doing it on Replit. But I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to just use Claude or ChatGPT or anything just to get the copy and then go take this or give it to a virtual assistant or go build it yourself, not in Replit, you don't have to do it. So just this first 45 minutes hopefully was helpful in showing you guys how you can create landing page copy or advertising copy, right? Because like this could have been anything. You said, write me a blog, write me a postcard, write me a whatever, and you would still want to go through the same process. You just tell it you're doing a postcard instead of a landing page, right? And then it would ask you different questions about that. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of part 1. So get to the final copy. Claude, ChatGPT, Grok, whatever, they can be really helpful there. Okay. And so the next thing we're going to do is kind of go toward the Replit section, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to give it a little more context than this, but basically what we're going to say is build me a simple landing page with the following. Okay. Now, I would argue you probably want to be a little more detailed. So this is the benefit that you guys get being here and watching the video and not just like taking my guide and copying and pasting it into a chat without kind of going through the training before. But I still want to give it a little bit more detail here. Okay. And so let's see what Claude came back with. Okay. And now we're going to go over to Replit. So this is my Replit. This is my Replit. What's the Marine thing? Like, this is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine, right? Like, this is my Replit. There are many like it, but this one is mine, and blah, blah, blah. So we're going to Replit, as you can tell. I've been doing a lot of work on it. We've been building some other landing pages here, which we're actually going live with right now on some other ads. So we've got a whole landing page directory on our own Replit, which is pretty sick. But we're actually starting to drive ad copy and do some certain things. So, you can say 375, whatever, down payment, 10%, testing something out right now. I got to check that. Not quite working, but hey, we're going to build a new one. So totally cool. All right. So let's start this off. So let's tell Replit, I'm building another landing page. I like to put it in my LP directory. This landing page, we're giving it context, right? This landing page is devoted to an agent recruiting campaign in which we will drive traffic of real estate brokers to the page, and they will be able to download what do we call this? Agent accelerator kit. Yeah. So we're giving it the whole thing, right? What at this point, we just want to build one section, hero section, and then we can continue with the rest. What other questions would you have before we start building out this page? Sweet. All right, one thing I want to highlight on Replit that we've not talked about before, and this is a relatively new functionality of Replit, which I think is pretty cool. If you check in Replit now, you'll see at the very bottom right here on the right, you now have a build mode and a plan mode. This is one of the most frustrating things when I started building Sterling back in May, is there was no differentiation between build mode and plan mode. So if you had a question for it, sometimes it would take that question and try to solve it before you gave it the go-ahead to build it. The nice thing about Replit now is that you can stay in plan mode pretty much forever until and it will generate a task list for you. And then you can tell it, okay, go do it now, right? So before, and you were kind of like, you're trying to like wrangle these horses and they would just pull you in different directions and you'd ask questions like, oh, we're going this way. No, come back. And then like one of those things. Now you can really plan it out. It'll have steps. It'll tell you exactly what it's going to do. And so you can talk to it in plan mode and then tell it, okay, go build it. And it would just go through the task list. And I'll tell you, it's making Replit so much easier to use. So I think this is a great new tool. And so as you can see, we're using the same strategies that we used in Claude, which is, go build out this landing page, but let me know what other questions do you have. And we're going to do it in plan mode, right? So that way, we can get all these questions that Replit might have out of the way first before it starts building a page that we don't like very much, right? The reason why you especially want to do this in Replit is because unlike Claude, where you're paying a subscription every month and like it's a set fee for like a certain amount of data, Replit is open-ended, right? They charge you basically per computation. And so the reason why you want to make sure that you have good plans and good code and good context, especially on Replit, is that if you don't, it will cost you money. Period. Right? So
is it free to plan then until you decide to develop it?
Let's see. No, that costs 32 cents just to ask that question. Right.
Okay.
But what you'll see is what you'll see in a second when you tell it to go is it takes, typically builds are not 11 seconds. They go for like a couple minutes, right? And so you might spend a couple bucks and be like, no, I didn't mean that. Like, go do this. And then you'll spend another couple dollars. And, all I'm saying is like, that just starts to add up.
Sure. Yep.
And so we want to try to avoid that. So, all right, design style. Let's start with matching this to the existing agent recruiting. One second.
So we're not asking for an email and then we're going to email them the PDF, right? You're going to
we'll do both.
Okay.
We'll do both. So like the emailing the PDF would be an automation setup in GoHighLevel. So what we can do is connect Replit to GoHigh via an API connection. And so whenever someone submits their information, we can create a contact in GoHigh via a Replit API call. And whenever you create that contact, you can tell Replit what tags to put on that contact. So like we can tell it like, okay, create a contact in GoHigh and then also tag it with Agent Accelerator Kit. And then we can create an automation in GoHigh, a very simple one, that is if someone gets tagged with Agent Accelerator Kit, send them an email. And so you can basically register, create the contact, have that flow through to GoHigh, the email will be sent. So by the time that someone loads this next step in the landing page, you can say, hey, check your inbox. And by the way, here it is for you right now. And if you want to schedule an appointment with us, here's our calendar to talk about recruiting, right? So like I said, if you go with GoHigh, it's simpler. They already have all this infrastructure built in. Like if you sign up on a form on GoHigh, the contact will automatically get created for you through GoHi systems. If you're going outside GoHi to create your landing pages, you do have to get a little more technical. It's called an API call. I would say it's probably I don't know, 201 level programming stuff. It's not 101, but 201-ish. 150 maybe, but it's a relatively simple thing to do, and Replit knows how to do it very well. And the API calls between Replit and GoHi are pretty good. You would just need to set up a few things, and it's relatively simple. But by the way, the AI will tell you how to do it, which is even crazier. So let's follow the background colors of that page. Already have before. Boom. So we're giving it more context. We're still in plan mode, by the way, right? So like, just because we answer a bunch of questions, we still don't know that Replit knows what's going on. So we're going to wait for it to kind of acknowledge it has enough information, and we'll so Freddie, Replit will ask you, hey, do you want to switch to build mode? Right? So it'll say like, I think I have enough information. It doesn't always do that. It will say that sometimes. But you can now see that, we fed it this website link, which is really just a directory page of one of our things. Now it's reading it. Dark blue, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, hold on.
So let's check this out. Here's my plan. Dark blue, headline, subheadline, value stack. I would just say, hey, revise the plan. That general plan sounds good. I'm taking out the no credit card because we are getting credit cards. We charge for Sterling now, by the way, guys. You now own not only a share in a real estate brokerage, but also hopefully soon a software platform. So that's one of the subscriptions of this thing. So, all right. Create the hero section, blah, 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 ready to build when you are. Let's do it. Boom. Go, Replit. I always think, I never get over this, by the way, like watching Replit do its thing. Just like while you just sit here and watch, I still think Replit is like insane about that. But here's what we can start to do. So we can now go back. So Replit, it's going to take a few minutes for Replit to do this. When it's creating new pages and like setting all this stuff up from scratch, it will take a few minutes to do it. So this is a great time for you to go back and start queuing up your next copy, right? Or the next section of your landing page, right? So now we know we already have a dialed in, at least from a copy perspective, hero section that we want to go out and test, right? I would argue the simplest landing pages right now are those that are, relatively straightforward, right? I think Evan just mentioned that in his teach-in a week or two ago, right? Was like landing pages are just like one simple section, sell one thing. They tend to be performing better than those landing pages that used to be like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling with all the testimonials and all the things and whatever, blah, 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 like just a simple landing page. So for us, we're going to do probably like a 2, maybe 3 section landing page. It's not going to be much more than that. So what we can do is go back to Claude, right? And say, okay, great.
Hey, I'm sorry, I got going about 15 minutes, but how does it know, like, okay, you got the landing page, it's going to capture the info. Your Replit's already hooked up to your GoHi, so it's going to enter that information in your whole GoHi, right? Is that how it knows, like, where am I going? Like, or is it going to ask me now, like, where do you want, this to go, with this information to be stored, or is that already done because it knows you use Replit for your landing page? I mean, I've
already done months of work on this program, so it already knows a lot about like which sub accounts it needs to go to and like all this kind of stuff. So like we already have our website that we built on Replit is already plugged into like PPG recruiting. It's plugged into Vanna Lending. It's plugged into Blue Pebble Group. It's plugged into property management. So like we have different routes for all this information depending on kind of like where these leads come in, and we've trained it to know what's up and like where to put it. And that's part of what you have to develop as part of software developer. I would say if you're trying to be very simple for you, let's say Replit is going to be your first project with this, right? Just have it go to your sub account and say, you can tell Replit like, hey, I want to set up a very basic API connection between you and my GoHighLevel sub account.
Right.
What information do you need, or walk me through the steps that I would need to follow in order to give you whatever information you need to set it up, right? And I'll be honest, in GoHi, it's really simple. You go into your private integrations, you create what's called a new private integration. That'll give you a code, right? And you want to copy that code. You're going to want to know your location ID, like your sub account location ID. And if Replit knows your location, which is your sub account ID, and it has that private integration token, that's all it needs in order to create that contact in your database.
Okay. Got it.
Cool. And by the way, I'm still going to probably have to tell it, like send it to BPG recruiting. Like it doesn't necessarily know what sub account because I didn't tell it, right? So, but it's already set up there because like we already have those connections already made. Okay, great. We've got Replit working on the hero section right now. I only want one more section to this landing page, but don't just want to be simple and powerful. What are your suggestions? Last section, based on all the context of this landing page, and also your knowledge of what would convert the highest. So, I didn't have a very good idea for what to do in the second thing. Like I didn't really have a plan. I kind of knew what I wanted my top hero section to be because like I know what the download is, I know what the offer is, I know what we're trying to sell, I know all that kind of stuff. But like I did not come into this thing with a very good plan about like exactly section by section what I wanted to cover. And so one of the other powerful things you can do is just ask it for you can just ask it for its suggestions, So let's go back to that in a second. Let's check on Replit. See. Oh, look.
Wow.
Not perfect, but it's a good start. It's got all the copy. So, okay, not bad, right? Here we go. I'm just curious. So, like, what do you guys think about this? And what changes would you want to make here?
What was the second question?
What change? I mean, what do you think might make this landing page better for somebody?
I like it a lot. I guess, is it by design it doesn't have, Blue Pebble Homes on it?
Oh, we could do that.
I mean, I just don't know because it's like, hey, because, Evan had one where they will, come shop for cash offers and it didn't have Blue Pebble Homes. Like, it's more like, hey, so I don't know if like for this point, you want to, people, even if they don't click on it, then they start in their mind, it starts planting the seed that Blue Pebble Homes is a better brokerage or has a different model.
Let's put. Do you guys think videos are important on landing pages? Like having a video would be good?
A video or a picture, because I think when they're just plain, there's nothing to attract your eye. And just like at the, when you walk up to go pay at a store, they always have those little things right to the register because it's eye appeal and makes you want to buy.
Okay, the other thing you do here is, so next to build mode, and it switches back to plan mode, but next to build mode, so you can attach, but you can also select an element. And so you can select like different elements on the page, just to give it more direction on what to do. So I'm going to select this entire box and say, this box does not scream interesting or click me at all. What are your suggestions to make this a little punchier for the UI?
So you don't hurt Replit's feelings when you say that?
Oh no, I say that stuff all the time. I mean, look, the more you give it, the more exact and better it will be, right? It will also do a lot of times like a thing that's really easy. Like I do think Replit is like coded to deliver very basic things instead of like trying really, really, really hard to like go do crazy stuff unless you tell it to, So I think here is it created a very functional, almost Spartan landing page, right? Because like that's very simple, very easy. It knows exactly what to do, right? That being said, it builds a lot of stuff. So like if you want to ask it like, hey, what are some other things we can do? What else have you done? Or what are you trained on? Or what are the best things, right? There's another AI backing this just like Claude, So like let's use that a little bit. Okay. So add a gradient border. Okay, let's make all those changes for making the values stack punchier, and then also do the nope, we're still planning, but that's okay. Okay.
So in order to see a sample, you got to get in work mode, right? So planning is just, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And you're like, no, don't do that. And then, so in order to see a draft or a template, then it goes to plan mode. To work mode.
Yep. Okay. I really try to be in plan mode whenever there's going to be more than one or two things I wanted to fix. So like, if it was just going to be, hey, change this from white to blue, or let's change this copy or whatever, right? I could stay in build mode and it probably would not go off the reservation, but whenever I have multiple things, right? So in this case, like I'm adding a logo and changing the layout, I'm adding a bunch of punchy stuff. Like I'm going to stay in plan mode until I know the plan is all good. And then I'm going to hit go, right? And so the way I kind of think about Replit is that, imagine you're Michelangelo, right? And you're a sculptor and you just have this giant block of marble, right? You know what it should look like underneath that. Like you have this vision of the David, right? And you kind of know like what you want it to look like, but it's a giant block of marble, right? You're going to have to take sledgehammers to this thing to knock off giant blocks of marble, right? To kind of like get it into this initial form. And then you're going to take finer and finer chisels the entire way down, maybe even sandpaper, right? And so building code is like punching it into like the general shape, right? And then we take smaller tools and like make some details. And we take smaller tools and make it even finer and then finer and finer. And then like we keep refining until we have that in the vision, right? And so all we're trying to do is like right now, whoa, this is really ugly. Knock off the big blocks And then we can go into like more, detailed refining of stuff, once we kind of go lower in the code. So it's still going. We'll come back to that in a second. But I guess let's pick our next section really quick. So do we want a who is this for block? Or the problem block? Or the proof block? What do you guys think?
I would say the problem block.
Problem block?
Jen? Yeah,
Option 1.
You like option 1? I got like option 1 too. All right. Whoa, that's so ugly. Okay, we gotta fix this a little bit.
I didn't want to say anything with
That's not quite what we wanted. This is a
little
little.
right there. Hey guys, I'm really sorry. I gotta get going. This
See you
is
later,
really. This is. Thank you so much, Jared.
I'll get it uploaded to Sterling here in a little bit, so that way you have access to the video.
I can meet with you guys every day and keep listening. So this is awesome. Thank you.
Come on Tuesdays, man. Just come on Tuesday. Hang out with us.
We should.
No, but Tuesday's like everything you wanted to know. It's not AI.
It doesn't matter. There's a lot in that class that you can learn that's valuable. It really
All right.
is.
I'm gonna have to rearrange my sewing club
We'd
class.
love to have you, Freddie.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you later,
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye, Freddie.
All right, so this is way too much yellow. Let's change this. Change this around. Any thoughts? No. I don't know how to tell it. This is kind of like ugly. It definitely needs to be a bit shorter in height. Too. That's pretty cool. Design notes. Okay. So the other thing that you can do, Jen, with that div tool, the element tool, is sometimes you can just change the copy directly. So you don't need to tell it to change. You can just go and edit it like this.
Okay.
So you could change this right now, like it's not built for you. You could make that change right now without having to have the agent do it, which is pretty sweet. Still don't know this is hitting for me. Okay. All right, so now we're just, like I said, taking the chisel, right? So this is like the smaller chisel now. Like, okay, we got some good stuff going here. We're pretty happy with it. You can also stack some commands. So like, I don't want this button all the way at the bottom. So let's move this to above the value stack and YouTube embed. Do. Ew. How do you feel about that?
It's better than the yellow.
Yeah, for sure. It's not bad. Cool. And then we're just going to do this then. So now we can take our design notes from Claude and go back to here. And then another thing that's pretty cool, Jen, is I'm not sure if you've done this with Replit yet, is when you want, you can actually change the size of your screen. So if you want to simulate what responsive screens would do, you can actually move the screen and it'll show you kind of like how the text and buttons will be responsive to like different. So like, you know, one of the things you'll notice if you go on our website and you do the rate widget is that the buttons and the text actually all move around and buttons appear and disappear depending on whether you're on mobile or desktop or tablet. Mm-hmm. Right. And so one of the really cool things is like, you can just go to a page and you can tell it, hey, if the width is a certain width, do this, right? If it's bigger, do this. If it's desktop, do that. And so like, you can kind of make the response, you can actually customize all the responsiveness too, which is pretty sick.
That's what's cool.
So let's we're gonna go this way. We're gonna go back to our desktop mode. Strong design. Oh, it didn't give it everything. Oh. I just think this is crazy.
It really is. The amount of work it does in just split seconds is unreal.
I mean, we literally started from scratch an hour and 20 minutes ago. And we're going to have all the copy we could ever want. You would have multiple A/B tests if you want to do it because you've already trained the AI. I'd be like, great, this is what I did for my first page. Now let's create a split test. You could also go into Replit and say, okay, great, this is a great page. Now let's create a variant, like a B variant, and we'll run it this way, blah, blah, blah. And you can create your own A/B test within Replit, right? And so in order to think about like what would it cost in terms of time, money, resources to get the copy you need, if you're not very good at building your landing pages to get all that, right? And now it builds landing pages for you. I think this looks better than any landing pages I've seen coming out of GoHighLevel. And like, it's all yours. You own it, which is like even crazier, right? Let's see it now. And then we're gonna need a video. So we decided to put a video on the right side of the hero section next to the offer stack. I think this should be under a minute. And me, it's nuts. Crazy. So how do we feel about this second step now?
I like it. It's clean.
You like it?
Mm-hmm.
Do we think this is like too texty?
Maybe it might be good. I know you have on our website some of the like videos we made.
Yeah, I could add some of those as like a third section.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Maybe shorten those a bit, or pick one. I'm still here. I'm gonna turn my video off for a second.
yeah, you're good. All right, checking out the script now. And then I think, honestly, this would be really easy. So at the end of the day, now we've got the video copy. So you can take the script, you could throw it on your teleprompter app on your phone, sit in your office, sit in your living room, sit somewhere where you could have, just a good, decent background. I would do it on 9:16, right? I would do it landscape mode, not portrait mode on your phone, right? But really easy. Go upload once you get your video. You can throw captions on via CapCut or any of the other caption software that's out there. You can then edit it with filters and clip it to what you want it to be. From your phone, you can upload it to YouTube. You can then get the YouTube link and then send it over to Replit. Replit can do a YouTube embed very easily within the code, and then you're done, right? So you really don't, if you want a GemR, if you want one of our virtual assistants to do it, totally cool. But one of the nice things about this is like now you have a script. Like this, you could be like 2 hours in, done, landing page, like copy the whole thing from scratch, video, and you could just be ready to go.
I will never get over it how fast this thing does all this, especially being an old school coder.
It's nuts.
It's insane to me.
It's nuts. All right. The only thing I have here is and we're almost there. So yeah, I think from as it relates to the training, 4:30, I think we're good to go, right? I mean, at this point now, you're just kind of like I said, this is the chisel part, right? You get the sandpaper out, you test the connections, you make sure API calls are good. You can start going through and doing some of the basic stuff. But the nice thing is here now we've got a landing page.
It's one of the nicest landing pages. Like first draft landing pages I've ever seen.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
I do think it helps though going through this process. And I think this is why this process is really important to show people is that, it's almost like measure 6 times and then cut once, and if you tell the AI like everything, so you're really measuring it and honing it and refining it before you give it instructions, then whatever it ends up doing is going to be pretty good, So
prompting and answering questions, I think, are the most important thing. Writing the prompt, generally having an AI help you with that because we just don't necessarily think that way. And then answering the questions as thoroughly and accurately as you possibly can as they ask them.
Totally. I'm going to change this to $25 an hour because I think a lot of agents would make $50 an hour if they could, no problem. Run without you. All right, then we'll just do one more thing here. You can also do snipping, which is pretty sweet.
Okay.
So one of the things I love to do is snip the page and say, this doesn't work, right? And then you can give it feedback. So like I gave it, I basically took a snip of the page and said, you can see how the bottoms align, but not the tops. I want the tops to align, right? Oh, I see it. Got it. Get the minimum height, blah, 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 right? So love it the same size. So let's see what it kind of does now. It's crazy. I also read something for what it's worth that if you stick with 3 inputs on a sign up, you get a lot more than if you get 4. So what I wrote here for a lot of our leads was basically a way to get full name instead of first and last name. So you can do full name, email, phone number. That's 3 inputs, right? And then what you can do in Replit is write a text extraction algorithm. So you can basically say like, okay, if you get 3 words, like let's say it's Mary Jo Smith or something, right? It'll like intentionally like say, okay, the first word is the first name, the last 2 are the last name. So it might mess up a little bit if you ever get like Mary Jo, or if you get like, sometimes in different communities, you have people that have 2 last names more frequently than others and blah, blah, blah. It might mess those up a little bit, but for the average user like Jared Frost, you basically split it at the space and you can extract those 2 pieces of information, throw them into GoHigh right there. And in theory, it helps your conversion if you keep it to 3 things, which is pretty sweet. Man, that still didn't work. All right, I got to work on that. But I think that's sweet.
For an hour and a half, Jared, not too bad.
Not too shabby, right, Jen?
Not at all.
So there you go. That was our prompting class. You've got the link now. I'll make sure I add it on Sterling when we publish this video there. And I appreciate you coming by and giving your input. Thank you very much.
Talk to you later, Jared.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye, Sky.